With Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra hitting Netflix, a lot of people are getting into the shows for the first time. So with the return of Korra comes the return of the argument that she's a bad Avatar, that she ruined the Avatar state, unleashed chaos, loses all of her fights, and is inferior to Aang in every possible way. I wholeheartedly disagree with these arguments. Korra is an awesome Avatar. In fact, I love The Legend of Korra just as much as I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. Korra is an incredible but misunderstood protagonist. A lot of the emphasis is put on the losses that Korra suffers at the hands of her enemies, but let's take a deeper look at what Korra was up against. Amon, the most powerful bloodbender who ever lived. He can bloodbend a crowd of people without moving his body, with just a look. He's mastered chi blocking, and he even figured out how to take away bending from others. He's a charismatic leader who's trained non-benders in techniques that let them fight benders hand to hand. You could almost make an argument that Amon is an Ozai level villain. Unalaq. Unalaq is an incredibly strong waterbender who's mastered spirit bending. He can even command spirits to fight on his behalf. He's a master manipulator, and it's this ability that makes him even more dangerous than his physical prowess. Another Ozai level villain. Zahir. Even before he got his airbending, Zahir was a martial artist that trained benders were afraid to fight. He's followed by 3 of the strongest benders alive, so powerful they had to be jailed in special prisons custom made for them. With his airbending, Zahir can literally snatch the air from your lungs. Oh, and he was the first airbender in 1,000 years to master flight. This dude learned how to fly. Another Ozai. Another Ozai. Do you see a pattern forming? Kuvira, a master metal and earthbender. Dare I say on par with Toph Beifong. She's created her own style of metal bending combat by weaponizing parts of her armor. She can slit your throat with a card-sized sheet of metal from, I don't know, 100 yards away. She's a dictator with thousands of soldiers at her command. And she's hot. Oh my god. Sorry about that. Anyway, Kuvira is another Ozai level baddie. So, over the course of her story, Korra has had to fight 4 Ozais. That's no small feat. It took Aang 3 seasons to be ready to face his Ozai. Now imagine if Ozai showed up in person halfway through season 1 or 2 when Aang's not emotionally or physically ready to face him. It wouldn't be pretty. Korra came back and prevailed against those opponents. Even though she didn't defeat physically Amon and Zahir, she triumphed in ways that were more important than beating them to a pulp with her fist and the elements. Losing the past Avatar connections. Korra gets assigned blame for the past Avatar connections being lost, which is unfair. Unalaq is responsible for that. People point the finger at her for falling for his plans, but really think about it for a second. You have an adult in his 40s manipulating a 16-year-old, a sheltered 16-year-old. Korra was trained by the White Lotus in isolation, which had never been done with previous Avatars. Unalaq had been working his Vatu harmonic convergence scheme before Korra was even born. He finds out his niece is the Avatar and he's been scheming since she was like 3. How was Korra not going to fall for Unalaq's tricks? When Aang finally faced Ozai, he didn't have to debate him or make sense of his ideals or philosophies. Ozai was simply a final boss that Aang had to defeat. But guess who did have to deal with Ozai's manipulations? Zuko. Zuko had to deal with Ozai as a person and a family member, and it nearly broke him. So Korra being manipulated by a person she trusted doesn't make her a fool. Unalaq is just a monster. He used every trick in the book to get what he wanted out of her. Finally, let's look at Korra's accomplishments. She exposed Amon, which led to the New Republic seeing the error in their ways. Having a council of benders rule everything was just ridiculous. So instead they brought non-benders into the government. Korra decided to keep the spirit portals open, which led to people across the world awakening to new airbender abilities. It would have taken hundreds of years to repopulate the Air Nation, and in the end, they all would have been related to each other. That's kinda gross. Thank you for saving us from that, Korra. She stopped Kuvira's ambition and in the process liberated the Earth Kingdom from being ruled by monarchies altogether. Ba Sing Se sucked. It was the most corrupt monarchy on the planet. Now it's finally going to be a democracy. Maybe they'll finally disband the Dai Li, hopefully. Korra's story was more about learning humility and overcoming failure. She's a person born into privilege with incredible talent. Her journey wasn't about beating the final boss. It was about learning to connect with herself and others. Aang freed the world from oppression. Korra brought balance back to the world. So, those are my thoughts on Korra and why I don't think it's fair to call her Trash-atar. I'm looking at you, Lupa-san. Thanks for watching my video. Like and subscribe, and I may make more of these. Peace.